what I would like to talk about is the ideas behind the dog runner. So it's a really common science fiction idea that you may have heard of before. Fungus kills all grass, creating a really devastating famine. And we often talk about it as being one of the worst famines because of our dependency on grass. So grass is like wheat, rice, corn, oats, sugar, and also all our dairy industry, meat, eggs, all come from animals that eat grass. So it really is this massive part of our diets. So that was really fascinating to me. So I set out to write a children's story in which there was no grass. And I started researching grass in Australia and the history of grass. And it is amazing. What a topic. I was blown away. As you know, Australia has some of the greatest grasslands in the world, and it has been farming and harvesting grass for thousands of years. So grass was broadcast to bring in the kangaroo, but also planted for grain crops and ground and baked. And if you've read Dark Emu, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And thank you to Bathurst Bookshop for putting me onto that book really early on in my research. That was so helpful. Go read that book. That is wonderful. So also what I found out about grass is soil fungi. Now, soil fungi is something that the Indigenous peoples of Australia have known about forever. There's a symbiotic relationship in the fungus, in the soil, that attaches itself to the root plants, and it breaks down chemicals, it feeds the plant, you know, this whole symbiosis thing. But what we tend to do in modern farming is we use fertilizers to boost short-term plant growth. And this tends to kill off the symbiotic relationship that the fungi have with the plants. So it's kind of an unsustainable way of doing things. So then, to complicate matters further, I added mushrooms to my story. So the mushroom farm up country is where Ella and Emery are running to. It belongs to Emery's mum and her family and his family. So that's where they're going to find safety, because if they know anything about this future world, they know the fungi are still growing. So I fell down another hole then of researching Asian woodland mushrooms. I got a Neilma Sydney travel grant, so I had no excuse to leave my rabbit hole, and what I did was I travelled to Mittagong to visit a train tunnel where they grow mushrooms. So come with me and we shall go to the train tunnel in Mittagong. Magic. Look at this technological magic. 1866 it was built as a train tunnel, and now it houses about 1.5 kilometres of mushrooms, kept at a temperature of about 17 degrees year round. Shiitake, enoki, oyster mushrooms, some really unusual mushrooms, and unusual colours. What they also did, the Neilma Sydney travel grant, what it also allowed me to do was to go to the Wimmera to talk to Steeper. Steeper study grassland regeneration, and they work with the ancient grasses as well as modern grasses. They're all about regenerating the health of the soil, basically, to grow grass. And that was a fascinating tour as well. Kangaroo grass with its mounding habitat, and the way that European grasses will often die down in summer and create these beautiful mats that stop erosion but also give a place for the seeds to drop and locate. Maybe they fall into the dry cracks underneath that lot, but also it allows the native grasses to come back up through that mulch. So European grasses acting as mulch was fascinating. And another mulch, cow dung, but these cows are undrenched, so in a day a herd of dung beetles can move in and reduce a cow pat to mulch. This cow pat is 1 day old. This is fascinating as a kid who grew up on the land. You would never see this in a cow that had been drenched. So yeah, mulch. What I also did was I went to see the dogs running in a forest in Brisbane, near Brisbane. So this is a husky, and they have a little tow rope and a little harness that they tow people around on carts and bicycles and scooters through the forest. It's a really fun sport. This is a Malamute. You can tell he's shaggier and larger, has wider set ears. I learned so much, I tell you. Fascinating, fun sport. I'd love to do that. I also went to walk the rail trails. These are the kinds of trails that Ella and Emery set off on before they go across country, so getting out of the city. So this one's near Bendigo, and there's me and my dog treading the trail that Ella and Emery might have taken, something similar at least. Yeah, and I got hot, so I went for a quick dip at Lake Tyrrell, and nobody told me it was a salt flat. No dip taking there. Yeah, so I took an idea, a common idea from science fiction, and researched the heck out of it, which was a lot of fun, and found it was this wondrous scientific roundabout full of discovery, and where fungi are actually the good guys. I mean, they're the bad guy in the story initially, but they're also the good guys. They even have fungi they've discovered that can break down plastic. So fungi are good. And ultimately in this story, what may turn out to be the bad guy is the way we live, modern living and modern farming practices.